The term David and Goliath has entered our language as a metaphor. A metaphor for improbable victories by the weak over those far stronger. But what determines the favorite from the underdog? Our eyes are quick to favor enormity, flash, arrogance, but looks can deceive. For there is always more than meets the eye when it comes to those less favored to win. Since the creation of the Winter League, Maccabi Tel Aviv has been considered to be the Goliath of Israeli basketball. However, after several upsets over the past decade, that seems to be less and less the case. Defending champion Jerusalem seems to be the early favorite this year. But that is why they play the games. The improbable victor can emerge at any time. Underdogs, a principle well established in sports. Underdog stories have a history of surprising and delighting spectators, and they play themselves out each day in sports across the globe. In the Israeli Winter League, Maccabi Haifa often finds itself cast in this role, but Haifa's players have grown to understand there is more to this concept than meets the eye.
I'm used to being an underdog from high school to college to even playing pros now, so it actually, is more motivation for you to want to work harder, to be honest with you.
Strategy and brain and execution is what is going to win games, and any team can beat any team, and I think that's evident. We see that in sports all the time. Those teams are better prepared, they did what they were supposed to, and they showed up when it mattered, and that's why they win.
Israel is home to perhaps the most famous underdog triumph of all time, the battle between David and Goliath. But is the victory of David over Goliath truly the underdog story we believe it to be? Haifa's cultural liaison, Shulamit Shelley, has arranged to take the players to where it all began, the Valley of Elah. And more importantly, to show how the greatest underdog of all time may not have been such an underdog after all.
We're standing in the Elah Valley. It was right here, the famous story about David and Goliath. This is the valley that David go down and take his slingshot, as I had here.
Oh, wow. In all the years I've gone to church now, I'm 29, I never would have thought I'd be standing where David fought Goliath.
The story of David and Goliath took place 3,000 years ago, when the kingdom of Israel was in its infancy. The Philistines lived along the Mediterranean coast and were enemies of ancient Israel, who lived primarily in the country's eastern mountain regions. The story begins when the Philistine army traveled east from the sea to invade and conquer the northern lands near Bethlehem. King Saul of Israel caught wind of this, and he sent his army down the mountain to confront the Philistines in the Valley of Elah.
Southern Ridge Philistines, Northern Ridge Israelis, they were kind of at a stalemate because going towards the other one put the other at a disadvantage because you're fighting uphill. And I guess what the Philistines said was they sent down Goliath, their big, strong warrior covered in armor, being like, you send out one person, winner is the winner, losers are slaves. And the Israelites, I think, saw Goliath a little taken aback by him, this big, giant creature, and David, the shepherd, stepped up. He came down and said, okay, I'll do it. The more you read into the story, the more you hear about the story, and especially being in the site, you realize that David had some advantages that you might not have thought about. Goliath was covered in a bunch of armor, very immobile, very big. When David has a weapon that he uses from range, you realize that David had an advantage because he never got close to Goliath. He swung rocks from a distance until Goliath fell, and the only contact he ever made with Goliath was when Goliath was unconscious. And I think that's a big factor that a lot of people don't really realize.
The sling used by David was not your average slingshot and could project objects upward of 100 miles per hour.
Did you release? Or something?
Yeah, I released one of them. And one
When do you release? When
left.
it's down?
You release when you at the point.
David had a slingshot, which we got to use, which was cool.
Yeah, why don't you go a little further away from us too?
I don't even have a rock yet.
Oh.
Don't be close to us, please.
So it's,
Oh, man!
You like that?
He might have been David back in the day. You don't know.
Where is it?
Wow.
You have to try. You have to try.
It's good that you don't have Goliath in front of you.
Reenactment, David versus Goliath. I'm gonna show you how it's done.
Show us.
You know, you want to look at your target. You know, you know, I'm running away. You're not gonna catch me. You're not gonna catch me, Goliath. That's what you're not supposed to do. You see?
I think you swung it the wrong way on that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I am right.
Did it right.
I gotta swing it this way.
take two.
Take two, exactly.
Rene, you want me to teach you?
And that's how he killed Goliath. Right there. It's almost surreal. I mean, if you're not really into the Bible and Christianity, for me, it's big for me. So, you know, it felt like I was in a movie, basically, just, you know, reminiscing on what really went down here and how, you know, even though you're an underdog, it doesn't mean anything.
So what do you take from this story to basketball?
Get John the ball.
It's an important lesson for especially guys maybe a little undersized like me and him.
Well, more so for me, like, it doesn't matter the size at the end of the day. I know when I first seen John, I mean, it played against both of them. I was like, who are these two small fries? But then, you know, they're small and furious on the court. Two guys who I would not want guarding me, basically. So being small is a good thing sometimes.
Right here.
Right
here and
yeah,
right here.
exactly.
And right here.
They say you can never underestimate anyone.
Exactly.
David came with nothing but a slingshot, and he thought it was over. And everyone knows what happened after.
Meanwhile, back on the court, the inspired Maccabi Haifa players hope to apply the underdog mentality over the next few weeks of Winter League play. The Israeli Winter League regular season schedule is divided into 3 rounds. All 12 teams face each other 3 times over the course of 33 games, once each round. Maccabi Haifa entered the 3rd round with a 13-9 record and in sole possession of 3rd place. Point guard Gregory Vargas has had a spectacular season and was honored by being named to the International All-Star team. Forward Oz Blazer was also named to the Israeli All-Star team. If the Greens were to make a run at the championship, it would be with their greatest strength, defense. This was evident in their 3rd and final match against Hapoel Holon. Although they were slightly out-rebounded, Haifa compiled an amazing 14 steals and forced 18 turnovers in the game. On the offensive end, points were spread out evenly as 5 players scored in double figures. The Greens cruised to an 81-67 victory. Next up, Nez-Ziona, another favorable matchup for Haifa. An even bigger domination on defense here, as Haifa amassed 16 steals and forced 21 turnovers en route to a 10-point win. The next 2 games would be against the 1st and 2nd place teams, Hapoel Jerusalem and Maccabi Tel Aviv respectively. If Haifa was to win both games, they could propel themselves into a tie or even pass Jerusalem for 1st place. Looking to bolster their roster prior to the next game, Maccabi Haifa signed Leroy Hickerson for the remainder of the season. A 34-year-old journeyman who has played in multiple countries, Hickerson was part of Haifa's preseason NBA tour, but he did not make the club's main roster. Now he is grateful for an opportunity to join the team down the stretch, just in time to face Jerusalem, who is seeking redemption after losing 2 games to Haifa this season. The key matchup heading in would be Haifa's top defense against Jerusalem's top offense. The 4th quarter was back and forth. Alex Chubrovich's career-high 17 rebounds and Gregory Vargas's tough play helped carry Haifa to a 4-point lead. However, Jerusalem would answer late in the game with a three-pointer by Yotam Halpern and a dunk by Donta Smith to tie the game and force overtime. Haifa would lose their momentum in overtime and eventually lose the game, falling 95-89. A chance to recoup the loss would come on the road against Maccabi Tel Aviv, another team looking for revenge against Haifa after suffering an embarrassing 35-point loss to them earlier in the season. The Greens' offense fell flat that night. They would lose the game 67-59. Fortunately, Haifa did not lose ground in the standings as they remain alone in third place. The schedule ahead is favorable for them as they seek to get on a hot streak just before the playoffs. Haifa's cultural liaison, Shulamit Shelley, had arranged a route that gave the players a glimpse into Israel's more recent history. Their Jeep heads for the historical Latrun Road, or more commonly referred to as Israel's Burma Road.
We have a car like this in the States. My father does.
Oh, really?
Like a 1969 Land Rover Defender. It's awesome.
That was your first car in high school?
No, I never got to drive it.
Whoa!
The road was constructed in 1948 during Israel's War of Independence. At the time, the Arab Legion had blockaded the Jewish sector of Jerusalem and had control of the only highway into the city from the coast, limiting any goods and supplies from entering the regions. An alternative route for supply trucks was needed to supply the trapped Jewish people in Jerusalem with food, water, and medicine. The initial route was rugged and very dangerous to navigate. At first, goods were transported by foot or by mule. It wasn't until May of 1948 that road crews set out on a 3-week mission to redesign the road for automobile use. Although they succeeded, it wasn't without heavy loss of men to artillery and sniper fire.
Try to imagine, guys, that from every side of you, people try to kill you and try to put some bombs on you, and you just need to get to Jerusalem to get a supply for people there. It's something that probably we can understand from today, but it's scary. You feel like you're not going to live in 5 minutes.
It
from
sounded
the other
like it
days,
was a suicide mission.
Yeah.
For sure, being shot from both sides. What you think? I'd be scared driving. Yeah. People shooting on me at both sides. Yeah. One side, I'm still scared, but two sides.
I'd be terrified. I don't think I've...
You had to have a lot of faith for sure. They were desperate, so. Seeing the latrine where these people had to walk on rocky paths, it shows you that, you know, if you really want it, you can get it.
I was kind of in amazement about what the people were able to do, finding this other passage, and the courage and the unity it took for these people day by day, making all these trips just so people could keep living on. It really showed the unity and a tremendous amount of courage.
Coach Rami always finds a way to put it into military terms for basketball, but it's like this basically, you know, especially as being underdogs for the most part, you gotta be willing to do whatever. I think we'll definitely learn more about that as the year goes on.
Maybe today we fight for a game.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it's like
in the other
sports
days,
for sure.
Yeah. They fight for their life, for their country, for place to live.
So let's ride on the Burma Road.
Okay.
With the jeeps like in the old times.
Nice.
If you're afraid, you can do like me. Close your eyes.
Hold on, Johnny. Hold on, baby.
This is after they make it better, you know.
Yeah.
It's safe road, okay.
The third round of the Israeli Winter League schedule is underway, and teams are now battling for playoff seeding. The standings have not changed much over the last few weeks as Hapoel Jerusalem, Maccabi Tel Aviv, and Maccabi Haifa remain locked in the top 3 spots. However, a tight race is brewing between 4th through 8th place, as 5 teams battle for the last 3 playoff spots. Looking to make some noise now late in the season is Hapoel Tel Aviv. They just made a major splash, signing former NBA star and 3-time slam dunk champion Nate Robinson for the remainder of the season.
I know how hard I play. I know how hard everything is.
What's up, Nate?
What's up, bro?
I want to play with you one-on-one.
When?
When do you want? If you have money, we play one-on-one.
When?
I beat Farmer, beat Ochayon, beat everybody in Maccabi.
That's Farmer, that's not me.
Ask Raviv Limonad, who is Raz Nissim Cohen.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
We play one-on-one.
One-on-one.
You have a video, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
That's an interview. That's an interview.
Clearly not afraid to back down from a challenge, Robinson came to play in his Winter League debut. Against Rishon Lizion, he posted 25 points along with 4 boards and 3 assists. Hapoel Tel Aviv hopes the star can give the team a late-season surge and grab a playoff spot. A short break in the season schedule gave way for the All-Star game in Elah, featuring the Israeli All-Stars versus the International All-Stars. In the three-point shootout, Isaiah Swan took the prize. There is also a slam dunk contest, where Nahariya's Gilbert Brown claimed victory. In the All-Star game, the Israeli team defeated the international team for the 5th time in the last 6 years. After the celebration of the league, it is now time to get back to work as the most significant weeks of the season are about to begin. Maccabi Haifa teammates Rene Rougeau, Gregory Vargas, and John DiBartolomeo continued on their history excursion of the biblical figure David during the 10th century BCE. Their next stop is the city of David, where he was anointed king and ruled during the Second Temple period. The excavation site of the city of David begins south of the Western Wall, on a hill sloping down from the Temple Mount. The present-day excavation began in 1995, where the remnants of a very large fortress were found and forever changed our understanding of the ancient city of Jerusalem.
Over the last 150 years, this is the most excavated site in all of Israel. 19 different archaeological expeditions have proved beyond a doubt that where we are standing right now is the location of ancient biblical Jerusalem, the city of David.
I mean, I like to read the Bible, so it's nice to be where it all started, basically.
The people who actually walked through the pages of the Bible, they were walking here. Prophets like Isaiah, Jeremiah, the kings of ancient Judah and Israel, this is where they were.
This is where the City of David Visitor Center once stood just a few years ago. In 2005, archaeologist Dr. Elah began to dig in the area, believing that underneath were the foundations of King David's palace.
There are many archaeologists who believe that the Bible is not just a book of faith, but it's also a book of history.
Right.
And so Dr. Mazar, an archaeologist, how does she view the Bible? She views the Bible as a guidebook. Where we're standing right now, 10 years ago, this was all underground. Our visitor center was located directly above our heads. So Dr. Mazar, she shows us over here, this Royal Phoenician capital. Phoenicia is modern-day Lebanon. This Royal Phoenician capital was found at the bottom of the hill that we're standing on some 50 years ago. And Dr. Mazar says this proves that this is the location of King David's palace. We're now standing at the top of the city of David. This is where the kings of the Davidic dynasty would have been ruling from right here where we're standing right now. No matter where you're from, whatever your religion or faith, everyone knows Jerusalem. And that Jerusalem that everyone knows, it began right here where we're standing right now.
The tour of the City of David excavation continues at one of the most important archaeologist discoveries to date.
We are right now standing in the largest active archaeological excavation in Jerusalem today. It is called the Givanti parking lot excavation. Why would you call an archaeological excavation after a parking lot? Well, if you take a look over here, you can see
that's it right here.
This right here, where we are right now, used to be the parking lot right over here. Okay, this was a parking lot. But before you can build in Jerusalem, the Israel Antiquities Authority has to come in and make sure there's nothing exciting located beneath where you want to build. They put 6 MRI-type scanners on the floor of the parking lot over here. They scan down and come back to us saying there are 10 layers of ancient Jerusalem civilization located directly beneath the floor of the parking lot. If you look right beneath where we're standing right over here, you can see a 2,000-year-old Roman mosaic.
Oh, wow.
This was part of a mansion, a Roman mansion that used to stand here. And inside that mansion, check this out. We found inside this mansion this golden earring, all in a spot that just a few years ago we were parking our cars. We are about to go down into a 2,000-year-old drainage channel, a sewer, 2,000 years old. We are going to walk beneath the pilgrimage road in the drainage channel with the pilgrimage road above our heads, and we are going to come out someplace very special.
The drainage channel also served as a place of refuge for the Jews who rebelled against the Romans. Found within the channel are numerous artifacts which tell the story of Jerusalem and its destruction.
First, you have over here a small golden bell that was found down here inside this excavation. And if you look over here, you can find the earliest etching ever discovered of a menorah, found down here inside this drainage channel. And what else do they find here? They find a Roman sword. We have over here a 2,000-year-old coin minted by the Jews of Jerusalem. Take a look at it.
That's crazy.
Have you ever held a 2,000-year-old coin before?
I don't think so.
The journey through the tunnel concluded at the base of the western wall, underneath the Temple Mount. It was a great moment for the group to reflect after a long day of historic experiences. The inspired group of players head back to the practice courts in preparation for the final weeks of the regular season. With the pieces in place to form a formidable team, they will enter the postseason no longer an underdog, but as a legitimate contender.